Can you believe it? The US just denied the fact that it was seeking access to Zambia's mineral resources. And he went further to say that they have no interest in Zambia's minerals.
The United States has denied that it sought access to Zambia's mineral resources in exchange of health funding. The outgoing U.S. ambassador to Zambia, Michael Gonzalez, said on May 1st, 2026, that Washington was not interested in exploiting Zambia's copper, cobalt, and other minerals. This comes amid U.S. revelations that Zambia recently ignored America's efforts to extend a $1 billion health funding, saying Zambian officials did not answer American representatives' calls and cancel planned meetings. Zambia says that the U.S. had set unfavorable conditions, including demanding access to its minerals before Washington could release the health funds. The agreement was supposed to be signed in November 2025, but had to be suspended after Lusaka raised objections to some of the aid clauses, including on mineral access. Zambia said the US termed it collaboration in the mining sector, a phrase that President Hakainde Hichilema's government treats as suspicious. Zambia is Africa's second largest copper producer after the Democratic Republic of Congo, and also has cobalt, nickel, manganese, graphite, lithium, and rare earth elements. Through its ambassador, Gonzalez, the US recently reiterated that it was not interested in siphoning Zambia's minerals, saying that America was committed to bilateral relations anchored in mutual benefit and transparency. While talks over a possible health funding appear to have stalled, Gonzalez said that the US will continue extending medical support to Zambia, including providing antiretroviral drugs and preventing mother-to-child HIV transmission. While most of the African countries that the US approached with health funding deals accepted the offers, some have rejected it, terming the aid conditions intrusive and exploitative. In late April 2026, Ghana ended talks for a multi-year aid deal with the US after Washington demanded access to citizens' personal data. It was unclear what the proposed Ghana funding deal specifically covered or what the personal data relates to. AFP news agency reported that the deal would have provided Ghana $109 million in funding for 5 years. African countries that have accepted USA's health funding offers include Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Lesotho, and Eswatini. Under the agreements, Washington offered Kenya $2.5 billion in funding, while Nigeria was offered $2.1 billion. In December 2025, a Kenyan court, however, halted implementation of the deal over concerns about sharing personal data with unauthorized third parties.
This topic or this discussion is just getting more and more interesting. To get a brief background check of where I started with this, I've put a link in the description. How do you explain a situation where you threatened another nation? You threatened the lives of the people in another nation. And then when they said no, then you come out denying that you had no interest in their minerals.
Trump's government has given Zambia until Wednesday to hand over its mineral rights or watch 1.3 million people lose the AIDS medication keeping them alive, which is a death sentence. This weekend, while that deadline loomed, Trump was demanding a $400 million golden ballroom and security bunker to protect himself from an attack that was stopped already without it. He wants protection, he just doesn't extend that to anybody else. Some context here. The United States has funded HIV and AIDS treatment in sub-Saharan Africa for decades through PEPFAR, one of the most effective foreign aid programs in American history. It has saved an estimated 25 million lives. Trump gutted it earlier this year. Of course he did. Since those cuts, infection and death rates in Zambia have soared, and nobody knows exactly how much because the funding for testing is also gone. You can't count the bodies if you defund the counting. What little AIDS funding remains will disappear on April 30th, the administration says, unless Zambia signs a minerals deal. Zambia has significant deposits of copper and cobalt, critical minerals for electric vehicles and defense technology. Trump wants them, and he's found a creative way to negotiate for them. Give us your minerals or your people die faster. Jonathan Larson at the Effing News described this as, quote, a vile moral obscenity. I don't have anything to add to that. He's right. This is extortion, not metaphorical extortion, not political hyperbole. Trump's government is using the lives of people dying of AIDS as leverage to extract mineral rights from one of the poorest countries on earth. He is threatening to give a developing nation more AIDS unless they hand over their natural resources. If a mob boss did this, we'd call it what it is. When the president does it, apparently we call it foreign policy. And here's the part that should make you understand exactly what this administration is. 2 weeks ago, I covered Gilead Sciences charging $28,000 for an AIDS drug that cost $25 to make. This week, the government is using AIDS deaths as a bargaining chip in a minerals deal. The through line is the same. Human lives aren't the point. Resources are, revenue is, money is, power is. The people are dying and they're just leverage. There are real people in Zambia right now who are alive because of American funding. Mothers, children, teachers, farmers, people who have been managing this disease for years with medication that works in a country that can't afford to replace that funding on its own. And Trump's government looked at those people and decided they were useful, not as human beings, as negotiating positions. The deadline's April 30th, 2 days from now. If Zambia doesn't sign, the funding goes. If you want to do something, contact your representatives and demand they push back on the use of PEPFAR funding as a coercive tool. And share this story, because while everyone else is talking about a ballroom and the White House Correspondents' Dinner, this is what's actually happening.
You can see that the whole world is watching. We're already seeing what the US is doing around the African nations. I think it's about time that Africa must rise up to this challenge. And I would really like to recommend our Zambian government for the efforts they are making towards safeguarding the well-being of not just the current lives of the Zambian citizens, but even for the future. Watch how our government responded to the allegations and the accusations of the outgoing US ambassador, Michael Gonzalez.
The government of the Republic of Zambia wishes to express its deep concern over the statement issued by the outgoing United States ambassador to Zambia, His Excellency Mr. Michael Gonzalez, hereinafter referred to as the outgoing ambassador, during a farewell reception held in his honor on 30th April 2026 at his official residence in Lusaka. The assertions by the outgoing ambassador in his statement are deeply regrettable, undiplomatic, and inconsistent with the spirit of mutual respect that underpins relations between sovereign nations. The statement is also contrary to the spirit of the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1961, the convention, which clearly stipulates the conduct of diplomats serving in receiving states. The remarks by the outgoing ambassador violate, amongst others, Article 3 of the convention, which stipulates the functions of a diplomatic mission, and Article 41, which requires diplomats to not only respect the laws and regulations of the receiving state, but also not to interfere in the internal relations of the host. Members of the press, to start, it is important to clarify that contrary to the statement by the outgoing ambassador, the relationship between Zambia and the United States, which I'll refer to as the US for convenience, is not, nor has it been, centered around aid. That the outgoing ambassador can make such a careless assertion suggests that his understanding of the US-Zambia relations is and has been limited. This could explain the peculiar conduct of the outgoing ambassador. Since the establishment of diplomatic ties between Zambia and the United States on 24th October 1964, with Robert Forlund serving as chargé d'affaires ad interim until the appointment of the first United States ambassador to Zambia, His Excellency Robert C. Good, on 11th March 1965, U.S.-Zambia relations have been centered, inter alia, around shared values and experiences, unconditional friendship, and mutual respect for one another as sovereign states. It must be noted that in terms of the proposed health MOU, by which the U.S. graciously and generously offered support of up to $2 billion United States of America dollars to Zambia over the next 5 years, the U.S. and Zambia are yet to agree on certain of the terms proposed in the draft MOU. Whilst negotiations have been ongoing for a period of time, this cannot be referred to as ignoring the offer by the US, or indeed as being non-responsiveness on the part of government. We must emphasize that the government of the Republic of Zambia owes a duty to the people to protect their interests at all times, in the same way that the US government must protect US citizens' interests, and therefore the ongoing negotiations reflect that reality. For clarity, the Zambian government wishes to state unequivocally that the stalled negotiations on the health MOU are as a consequence of the incorporation of terms that the Zambian government considers unacceptable, such as those relating to sharing of data in violation of our citizens' right of privacy. These matters are the subject of litigation in Zambian courts, and this must be respected. Aside from that, these provisions are considered unconscionable from the perspective of the people of Zambia. And therefore, government reiterates that it has a duty to protect those interests. Hence, the negotiations reaching a temporary impasse.
We all know that our African leaders are not all that perfect, but honor must be given where it is due. There are certain areas that we might see, or we might think that maybe our current government is not doing all that well, but for this one, we have to commend them. We have to recommend them, honestly. This is a great job. This is a well-done job for the government. The fact that they could take this stance, they could take this position and defend the interests of the Zambian people. We've seen other nations like Nigeria and Ghana, they've signed those documents and approved at the expense of their citizens. But seeing our current government take this stance, ladies and gentlemen, this is worth applauding. This is worth recommending. And I'll keep saying one thing, as Zambians, honestly, there's one area that we need to work on. This is the area of honoring our own leaders. It's very important that we start honoring our own leaders more than we have been, because they are doing the best they can. They might not do all the things that we expect them to do, but at least they are doing something. They are not just sitting. They are doing something. So whatever it is they are doing, let's learn to honor our leaders. We have got a saying here in Zambia which says, support your local team. Yes, we need to support our very own. We need to support our own president. We need to support our own ministers, our own MPs. We need to support them. We need to honor them. We need to say things to them that motivate them, that even make them wake up in the morning and do more for this nation. This, to me, is something to be excited about as a Zambian, yeah. It means Zambia is on the right track. We are going somewhere. We are heading somewhere. Not all hope is lost for Zambia. I know social media and all these other things can tell you like, oh, there's a lot of economic hardships or troubles, whatever in Zambia. Truth be told, what media reports out there, what social media and everyone reports out there, and what's really happening on the ground is not the same. The propaganda that you see media or the news channels circulating, that's not the truth on the ground. It's high time we got to realize that Zambia is actually doing fine. Yes, we are not there yet, but at least we are somewhere. We are making progress. Compare Zambia to other nations. Travel, go to other nations, then you appreciate, then you learn. You understand why Zambia is actually doing much better off. The other day I was thinking to myself regarding the dollar, for example, how it is at that rate, between 18, 19, somewhere there. I've also been seeing the fuel prices rather. How despite the war in Ukraine and all that, we haven't been affected that much for now. Yes, I can say that. So if that is what we are seeing on the ground regarding fuel and the dollar rate, then obviously there's something that the current government is also doing to maintain this. You can't honestly say there's nothing this government is doing. I'm not trying to be political or anything. All I'm just saying is, Let's take time to honor our leaders. Let's take time to be grateful for whatever efforts that our leaders are making. If you like this video and you like the content on this platform, please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to like, leave a comment, and if you can, let me know your thoughts about this topic. Thank you so much for having taken time to watch this video. I'll see you in the next one.